Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Yeah, it's still going exactly as badly as you would expect, if not even worse.
So this is probably the last video that I'm going to make on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 unless something insane happens in the post-launch period. But the reason I've been covering this game so much is because it finally feels like the complacency of Call of Duty is catching up to the series. A complacency that is a result of leadership wanting to factory churn out Call of Duty games year after year in this annualized release.
Are we gonna just in typical young gay fashion call corporations bad once again? And everyone who is in a leadership position evil? I would love to live in such a easy and stupid world, honestly, but I can't.
Release cycle that is not helping the series at all. The developers need time to make something great, and with Call of Duty Modern Warfare...
No, the developers probably just need to be fired and replaced with people who have a single shred of competency in themselves. Okay? The evil people in the suits and the fancy chairs and in the fancy restaurants did not tell the developers, okay, but make the game bad. Yeah, but make the game stupid. Make the game bad. No, they didn't tell them that. The developers did it on their own.
3, it's clear that it was so rushed that the developers just straight up could not make and could not realize the full potential of what this game could have been. I've already talked about the lead up to the game's launch, the ad campaign on Xbox that wasn't well received with the pop-up ad, stuff like how the file size for Modern Warfare 3 is ridiculously huge at over 200 gigabytes.
That's on the CEOs. They demanded the file size is big.
How the game for some reason required a Modern Warfare 2 PS4 disc. This was an error that has since been resolved.
Again, it's the fancy people in the fancy suits eating the fancy Italian, French, Spanish sounding foods, you know? It's their fault.
But it highlights the fact that this game was very much intended to be a Modern Warfare 2 DLC, and there were errors resulting in the game not being able to be launched without launching Modern Warfare 2. And then there is like just data management surrounding this game because of the requirement of COD HQ, which takes up a lot of space and makes launching Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 just a pain in the butt, combined with the fact that the campaign was only 3 to 4 hours long on average, and also because this is essentially a Modern Warfare 2 DLC, the game doesn't have a platinum trophy because it's categorized as DLC for Modern Warfare 2. And then came the review surrounding the campaign itself. IGN gave it a 4, saying that the open combat missions just clearly weren't fully...
IGN giving something like this a 4, though? Kind of shocking, not gonna lie. But they have been recently doing it quite a lot, huh?
Fleshed out, and the length of the campaign doesn't help, combined with the fact that the overall quality of the campaign, its set pieces, the story just didn't do it any favors. GameSpot also didn't give it a very high score, gave it a 5, listing out similar pros and cons. Wow. And then Video Games Chronicle here calls it a thin and disappointing entry. And reviews basically are like that across the board. Content creators also gave the game pretty low scores. There's a whole compilation here of what people are saying about this game, and, you know, it's not positive sentiments. True. Beyond that, you know, the community itself have labeled this easily the worst Call of Duty campaign ever. So the feedback has been pretty vicious. Now, people were hoping that the multiplayer side of things might do better, but things are pretty bare bones there, as well as Modern Warfare 3 will only have remake maps from the 2009 Modern Warfare 2 at launch, a strange map pool. There's no dedicated co-op mode, but instead a Treyarch-developed Zombies mode that reuses the Warzone map. And then following the multiplayer launch...
Yeah, it's pretty lazy, but do people care about it, honestly, that it's lazy? You know, I don't think people care about the fact that the multiplayer is lazy. They got some new things, I guess. They got a new game to play multiplayer in. Maybe it's worse than the last one, but hey, at least it feels new.
Of the game, issues began to crop up, like how certain maps had to be pulled because the spawn points were glitched out and people were being spawned in the same place or at odd spaces, where it kind of broke the game, where it allowed the enemy team to essentially just camp out a certain spot.
Oh yeah, this one. Again, the evil managers told them to do this, okay? Yeah, it's just the evil managers didn't take 3 seconds out of their day to change the spawn point. It's true. It's true.
spawn point and make the experience unplayable for folks. And now let's take a look at where the game's sitting at in terms of Steam reviews now that it's been out a few days. Well, from 4,192 reviews, the game is currently sitting at a mostly negative review score of 26%. Even by Call of Duty standards, this is pretty damn low. And then scrolling down, you'll find some of the user reviews, would rather buy WinRAR, says this user. But, I mean, in terms of general feedback, I mean, everyone's panning the campaign, combined with how bare bones the multiplayer feels. It doesn't feel like it made a huge step forward to warrant the 3 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. This very much feels like Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
That guy spammed update requires restart, but gave it a thumbs up. I kind of don't get it.
2.5, maybe 2.1. And as one would expect, it's still Call of Duty, so a lot of people are tuning in. There are a bunch of players who are checking out the game right now. So you can see right here that there are over 100,000 players playing right now in terms of 24-hour peak. 136,459 players. Now, this does combine Modern Warfare 3, Warzone, and Modern Warfare 2. I'm not exactly sure how accurate this is in terms of just specifically looking at Modern Warfare 3, but looking at this chart, one thing does become apparent, and that is that Modern Warfare 3, in terms of how many people tuned in at launch, is significantly less than Modern Warfare 2's launch, as reported here by Dexerto in an article whose headline reads, Modern Warfare 3 falls short of Modern Warfare 2 launch with huge player count drop, which is something that...
Well, yeah, because who plays that game? It's like dads who are having to deal with their wives almost constantly overdosing on fentanyl, and they have kids, and they don't want them. And you have a bunch of Zoomers who are just doing the zoomy strategies of, doing this with their characters and then, stuff. Yeah, those people are not going to buy a new game if they're having fun in the current game. They probably don't even know a new game was about to launch, honestly. So, yeah, it's just going to do worse because of that. Not because people don't want to buy it. I mean, a Zoomer who's 10 years old currently is not exactly going to care about the nuances of game creation and quality. Dude, did you care when you were 10? Nah, man, we played absolute garbage, okay? We played the worst games ever and are now calling them classics that withstand the test of time, even no one has played any single of those games in forever. That's how the world works.
Investors won't be happy about. What investors want is this sense of infinite growth. They want each new entry to have more players than the last, show greater signs of growth. But with Modern Warfare 3, we're starting to see that plateau and kind of starting to decline. Modern Warfare 3 peaked at 190,273 concurrent players on Steam during the game's launch weekend, referring to...
Actually, the investors don't give a shit about that. They just care that the stock price goes up. That's how it actually works. They don't care if that game has 1 player or 1 billion players, as long as the stock price keeps going up.
This stat right here, if you look at the launch period at around November 12th, that's around where that number's sitting at. And then when we look at the numbers for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and compare them to Modern Warfare 3, you can see right here in Dexerto's report that Modern Warfare 2's debut in October of 2022 peaked at 262,875 players. Modern Warfare 3's launch had over 27,000 less concurrent players at launch than Modern Warfare 2 did, which is significant enough that it highlights that people are kind of becoming burned out by Call of Duty, and they've heard enough about the negative feedback surrounding the campaign and the fact that the multiplayer is pretty bare bones and just...
No, I don't think that. I think people are being fed up and leaving the game, but that's for different reasons. Different reasons. That has nothing to do with the campaign being shit. Most people who play Call of Duty don't actually know anything about the game. They don't watch YouTube videos. They don't watch trick shot compilations. They don't do any of that, okay? They just play the game. I think people are getting tired of Call of Duty because for the last 2 years, I constantly just see on Twitter, time to time, trendings. Time to time there's something trending about Call of Duty being something that, I don't know, 7-year-old prodigy Zoomers are playing, and they have made 3 laps around the map because of some mobility BS, while you still are, setting up your loadout.
The fact that this feels more like a DLC to Modern Warfare 2, that it did have a tangible effect on the game's commercial success, it would seem. Is it still going to make a lot of money? Yes. But is it going to make money that highlights growth for the series, which is what investors are looking for? It's not looking like it.
They don't. He's completely wrong about this. They don't care. Investors not looking at it in that way. Absolutely not.
And that's actually, I think, a good thing. And not because I take pleasure in seeing games fail, but rather because Call of Duty does need that wake-up call. Developers know that they need more time to make better Call of Duty games, but the higher-ups won't give them that time. And with this kind of reality slap in the face, hopefully this will tell Activision, hey, now it's starting to affect your bottom line. You need to start delaying Call of Duty games and stop with the annualized release cycle. That is just not tenable to make these games good and to make each new entry feel like a significant step forward. Speaking of significant step forward, I recently had the fortune of upgrading my gaming desk. Which brings us to the sponsor of today's video, below. And it's not just commercially where Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 has been negatively impacted. Critically, this is the worst Call of Duty game ever made. Looking at the reviews here for the PlayStation 5 version of the game is sitting at an average score of 55% from quite a few reviews by now. 4 plus 31 plus 11.
The fact that actually, if you have a situation like this, that's fine, but the fact that the positives are so below the negatives is insane. Wow.
That's 35 plus 11,
times,
which is 46. Jesus, my brain. From 46 reviews that not only looked at the campaign, but now at this point also looked at the multiplayer, we got a 55 out of 100. And scrolling down, you can see the range of scores that are on display.
Guardian? What do you mean, Guardian? Is this like The Guardian, the stupid news outlet? Wow.
The highest we've seen for this game is 80%, but that's few and far between. The rest
IGN, Digital Campus.
of these reviews are most...
I have no idea, by the way, about any of these sites. I do not read a single gaming news site.
In the yellow, sitting at 70, 60, 50, I'd say is... between 50 and 60, that's where the range of scores tend to sit at. And then the occasional, 40 and, I don't know, is there a lower one? Okay, so 40 is the lowest it goes. But you can see right here that these ranges of scores, they're not particularly enticing. It definitely highlights that this is an entry that generally is not well recommended.
True.
This places Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3's average review score lower than some of the more critically panned AAA releases this year, including Forspoken,
Redfall,
which is sitting at 64%.
No, Redfall's probably worse.
And frickin' Redfall, which is sitting at 56%. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 barely...
I didn't check Forspoken out at all. I know Redfall, that's why I named it, because, man, Redfall was a disaster. But Bethesda's used to disasters.
Managed to beat it by 1% at 55%. And this also means that looking at the entire library of PlayStation 5 games released in the console's entire history, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is the 13th worst reviewed PlayStation 5.
Werewolf? GTA? Oh, this was the remake, wasn't it? Or was it not? Looks like Vice... Yeah, that is Vice City. No, which one was the remake? I don't even remember, but it was horrible.
Game of all time. The top spot goes to one of the most infamous game releases in recent memory, The Lord of the Rings Golem, but being not far behind The Lord of the Rings Golem, that is...
I mean, The Lord of the Rings Golem is so bad, you just want to see how bad it is.
Not a good place to be. As for what critics are saying about the multiplayer aspect specifically, here's IGN's verdict, which gave the multiplayer specifically a 6 out of 10, saying Operation Deadbolt's attempt to reanimate Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Zombies mode by merging it with the machinery of DMZ isn't always successful, but it's not an inherently bad idea. When you start hitting on the right combinations of difficulty, planning, and random chance, it leads to fun, intense moments that leverage some of the best ideas from both. But what's fun here is frequently undercut by way too much time spent spent grinding for gear needed to survive the intense enemies in the center of the map, busy work story objectives, and crashes that can kill any desire to play. Oh yeah, that's another thing. The technical state of the game, I've heard, is not particularly great. Plenty of people are frustrated about the frequency of crashes and issues that
Have not heard at all about that, honestly. I mean, how bad can it be if it's a reskin of something that already exists? And then I think that, Starfield exists. So maybe it can be really bad. Who knows?
that just don't make for a smooth gameplay experience. Operation Deadbolt has great moments of tough battles against gross monsters that had me full of panic and dread, but only if I was willing to put in a lot of time and effort to make them happen. Here we have GameSpot's review of the multiplayer experience specifically. They were a bit more generous with a score of 7. The good remastered maps look great.
I mean, this just shows you that most game ratings don't mean anything. 7 good? What's good about it? What's good about it? Tell me. What's good about it? The good remastered maps look great. I don't see anything good about that. Good classic Call of Duty features return. What's good about it? You're reusing old features. You see?
Great. Classic Call of Duty features return, weapon tuning is gone, and Zombies brings objective-style game that keeps you hooked. As for the bad, complete lack of never-before-seen core maps. So again, a lot of it is just recycled content. All the leveled-up Modern Warfare...
Yeah, you see, criticism like this, I feel, is really bad. It feels extremely disingenuous. When you say, the good part of the game is the fact that, well, the remastered maps look good. And then at the same time, at the same breath, you're saying, well, there's no new maps. You know? The fact that there's no... You could say that the remastered maps are good, because then it would be a bonus on top of the new maps. But if you only have remastered maps and no new maps, that's not a good thing. You're essentially highlighting something that is, well, quite plainly just sheer laziness as something good. And that's not how I want that to happen.
Warfare 2 guns create an unbalanced environment. One of the features of Modern Warfare 3 is you can bring content like guns from Modern Warfare 2 and transfer them over to Modern Warfare 3, but it seems as though that can create some imbalances here and there. Player progression is more of a grind, so grind is brought up again, kind of like what IGN talked about. And finally, the reliance on nostalgia.
So weapon tuning is gone, but the grind is worse. Okay.
Might not last. Again, not enough new content, too much recycled stuff that makes this feel more like kind of an expansion or DLC, akin to the way that Overwatch 2 feels more like Overwatch 1.5 or Overwatch 1 Chapter 2 rather than a true Overwatch 2. And then here we have Rock, Paper, Shotgun saying that Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer is a tiring nostalgia trip. That's what they say about the game as part of their review, and they complain about very similar things. Is the multiplayer awful? No. Can you have fun with it? Yes. But the issue is that at the $70 asking...
I mean, you can also have fun with a, dead dog that just got rammed over by a car on the street. Doesn't mean that that's good. You can have fun with a lot of things, but it doesn't necessarily make those things good. So yeah, I don't like when people say it like that.
Price to see it launch with such a bare bones, short, and kind of lower quality campaign, combined with the fact that the multiplayer just doesn't make enough leaps forward, doesn't offer enough new content, doesn't feel feature rich enough. The combination of just the fact that this feels like they just needed to rush something out is what's being critically panned, especially when it's being sold as a brand new standalone game. On OpenCritic, you can see right here that the average review score is sitting at...
Oh, look at that. Exactly as Young Yes starts to reverberate things that he already has said, we are at, roughly 2/3 of the video, and as clockwork, boys, as clockwork, Young Yeah never disappoints. Anyway, this was Quizzer 7, and that was Young Yeah! The voice of Yakuza, or whatever that game's called. I don't play it, so I honestly don't give a shit. But yeah. I know that he said, well, guys, listen, I'm just a really good voice actor. That's why I got the role. It has nothing to do with the fact that I have a giant YouTube channel. Yeah, that sounds believable. And then he said, like, oh, this is the same as Mr. Beast. He didn't get the role. No, he did not get the role as the voice actor. But man, if Mr. Beast said he would do the role as the voice actor, they would have made that work, okay? And you would have been fired, okay? You got the role, and it was horrible. I have seen some clips of it. Holy shit, it's horrible. And just because I did it on accident, you know, if I fought, boys, I'm gonna put that in your face that I did, and I have absolutely no apologies. Okay, so man, what a time to be alive. I don't know. I think that's old news. Now we're not gonna probably have discussion about that, but it's just funny. Just want to point out that I know. Anyway, this was Quizzer Sid said. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye bye.